Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I would do a little bit different video and start to scarify this creation here, this unnamed creation. I appreciate all the names that were sent in for the other creation. I don't have it spawned out here right now, but I will definitely look at those and probably pick from one of those. I don't know which one yet. I'll have to look at them again and see what's there, but a lot of them look pretty cool. Some I already used on past creations, so I really I'll have to skip those. Although I like the names, obviously, because I used them already too. So just to let you know that. But anyway, the objective of this video is I wanted to get at least started on trying to convert this into a Skaar creation from what it looks like now. So I kind of want the aesthetics to feel all rusty and junky, maybe add some little spiky things, sharpy things, just to get it more looking like Skaar. So what I did right now for reference to, it's been a little while since I built a Skaar creation. I just kind of wanted to take a look at this, steal its color palette, and this is kind of a little bit of reference material for the overall scheme of how I at least did it with the earlier Skaar creations. And there's quite a bit of, and some different tones of grays in here and stuff too. I was just trying to remember exactly the arrangement of tones, and I think it's kind of a little bit chaos based, where things don't always line up, and that's kind of intentional, so it gives it more of a ragged look. Oh yeah, I actually put in these. That might be one of the only times I use that texture or block is on Skaar creations. Anyway, first thing I want to do here is steal the color palette. So I'm gonna get out the color tool, go over to this creation, uh, hit configure. I'll touch on the top corner, hold down shift, and touch on the bottom corner here just like that, and then hit copy. And basically I want to take this custom color palette and then just move it over to this creation. Seems to be about the easiest way that I know how to do it. So I'll do the same thing here. I'll go back to configure. I'll touch on the top left, hold down shift, touch on the bottom right, and hit paste, and that will put in the color palette from the other creation. So now we've got our Skaar base colors here, which are basically these over here. With Skaar, I usually do something a little bit different. Like with the humans and others, I usually leave it white box like this or gray box or whatever. And then paint everything in individually. With Skaar, I'll start with a base texture. So basically, I'll set like the base gray here, have it replace all, and pick the Skaar base texture, which is this kind of rusty metal look. So that'll make the thing look dramatically different already, just by putting that texture on there. But now I kind of want to like mess up the block work a little bit here, kind of intentionally on purpose. If I can get some little spiky action or something going on, would be great. Also, something I didn't really do much with past Skaar creations is use damage blocks. And since this is already made of steel, and these damage blocks only come in steel, it actually works for this creation. I think the other creations I might have been using hardened steel or even combat steel on a lot of them, and therefore the idea of using damage blocks doesn't work because they had way less hit points than the standard blocks. In this case, it's not really the case. So let's try to replace a couple of these. And you don't get the full option of blocks with the damage block set either. I do worry a little bit that some may or may not be airtight. I don't know yet, but I'll have to take a look at that in the end. But let's try to slap in like a damage block there. And for this part, I don't really want to turn on symmetry because I want it to be kind of chaotic on where these damage blocks get put. So if it was symmetry was on, it would be the same on both sides, which doesn't exactly feel probably right. But and I don't want to do too many of these, just some, and I want to hopefully they don't make their way to the interior as well. See if I can do this block in damaged. God, I don't think I can do that angle set with damage blocks. It's missing that other piece unless it's here and I'm just not seeing it. I don't use damage blocks much, so I'm not super familiar with the layout of the shapes here or what shapes are here, but it doesn't look like I can actually do that. So let me undo that block I removed there. I can mess with the damage blocks on this other angle, which is kind of like your 45, 22, 5. Let's put another one here, I suppose. I didn't do the same on both sides, did I? Yes. Whoops. There. Never mind. I don't want it the same on both sides. Let's pick a different one. How about you? Yeah, there we go. So we got a couple of those things going on. Let's see what happens if we take this nose out and make it a little sharper. I don't know. Doing some experimenting. I just want it to be unique and different, so it doesn't look like one of the other two ships that became of this one. Nah, ain't gonna work. Let's go with that. Essentially what I'm going to try to do here is manipulate the angle. Oh, I better get symmetry on when I'm doing this. So I have often forgotten to turn on symmetry or sometimes turn it off. So let's do Symmetry Plane. Just that. Oops. And we'll set. Okay, so you are set to the center. Okay, good. Now there's nothing actually shooting on this row either, so let's change this around just a bit. Try to get something like this in here. I kind of like that little, I was going to put some angled blocks in there to smooth it all off, but I kind of like that. It's kind of like a little potential little intake or something there. Let's go with that. Let's do a little bit of texturing here too. So part of this too, I didn't want to just do straight block work or straight texturing, so I'm going to try to go back and forth in between it when doing this video at least. So let's put in something here. Yeah, if it's going to be intake, maybe it ought to actually be a vent. A couple of these on the sides there. Wonder if the cockpit here should be dark or light. Let's try to tone it down a little bit. All the glass and things. And let's get a different texture up on top here. How about like that? And okay, so this block here can go bye-bye too. Let's put in a full block there temporarily, and let's try to do something with the front here. Could experiment with see what a roundish block looks like here. Curve it like that. Does that look any bit interesting? Maybe if it had some spiky things, it could look interesting. Maybe that's what it needs, just some spiky things here. Yeah. Okay, so here's an idea. I'm changing a lot of ideas. This is heavily experimental. I'm just trying to see what shakes. And often with builds too, I'll try multiple different things. If I get to a certain area of the ship, I might try one thing. I'll look at it for a little bit. If I like it enough, it'll stick. If I don't, it gets removed, and I try something different. So right here, what I think I'm going to try to do is put in some kind of conversion from a square block to a round block. Got different options on what blocks you could use for that too. Let's say we start like there. The whole reason I did this is so I can stick an antenna there of all things. And let's put in like something to make that look a little bit different. One other thing too that could be brought into this is the use of pipes and things. I pretty much refrain from doing that on these builds because I kind of typically, at least my impression, if you see exposed pipes on a creation, this probably has more to do with industrial than military, because you really won't see exposed pipes and things like that on like an actual real world combat ship or anything like that. But you will see it often on industrial type of things. Skaar kind of would fit more towards that industrial look, or at least like welded together, where it wasn't trying to be all armored and tough and things like that. So that's kind of a big thing. So here, let me find some antenna pieces. I think that could fit in well here. The right parts were used. So these I used on other Skaar creations because they're kind of pointy and spiky, and I kind of like that look here for something like this. So maybe we put a couple of those in place, and also I think what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of trim up there too. Because at first I liked that little notch there, but now I'm not so sure. So now when I'm building the hulls on these steel creations and trying to be lightweight, what I'll do is like I use a lot of these angle sets, and I'll use like all the big ones, the first three in steel or whatever the base material is, and then like the fourth one, which isn't going to be really protecting anything, it's always going to be backed by another block. I'll try to lighten the overall weight and use carbon substrate for that. So like as an example, you could probably see that this block here is carbon substrate, and then the supporting larger blocks are all steel here if you look at the side of the multi-tool, unless there's another one of the thin blocks in the mix. And then that will also be carbon substrate, usually, if I did it right at least. I don't know if that's the best method, but the way I see it is if you're going to go with like a single block layer hull, this is a weight reduction, and you still have a single block layer hull. Everything that it has to go through at least one block of steel or whatever your base material is before it gets to the interior. So but the amount of angles on these creations, if you take the number of these kinds of blocks that are used on here, it could be a couple hundred on this creation alone, and that is essentially savings of weight. And savings of weight on a creation like this, I think, is generally a pretty good thing, at least for what this creation is trying to be. So let's do something else here. Let's put in here. How about one of these? I'm just trying to make this like intake look a little bit more interesting, sort of, but I'm trying to back it up and add in some little like frame metal stuff like sticking out here. I don't, and like right now, I'm not really like, I don't think I like these angled pieces that I put in here. That was one of those blocks, I was like, yeah, see if I like it or not. Turns out, don't really like it. So we'll cut that out of the mix and try to find a different block for that situation. And maybe I shouldn't have it stick out so far that way. This could be kind of neat. Let's see what happens with going this route. And since this is the very front of it too, which would probably take the most impacts, like I'll probably add a little bit more steel blocks in this section. Although this top one, they could all be steel, I suppose, too. I don't know. It's a debate every time I build a ship. It's like, should that be steel or should that not be steel? And it's trying to find that balance between weight and whatever. I'm going to get rid of those for now. And let's try to redesign this a little bit more yet. Again, just to have it look different than the other ships there. And this is not working out either. There's not a block I can match this particular body line up to over here, I don't believe. No, there isn't one for that. I don't know if I'm going to like that little ridge line, and let's put in these little dinky things. Of course, these little trim blocks I typically always do in carbon substrate, regardless of the creation. And yeah, I don't like that line though. I wonder how that would texture. This is why some of these builds take a long time, especially when I get started with texturing creation. It's so many different possibilities and options, and it's like I want to find an area to start with that I like and then kind of move on from there. And I like to put in some alternative textures everywhere I can too. But there's only so many to pick from, so you do have to repeat a lot of those quite often. Okay. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, this little line here, I think, is gonna bug me to death. I think. How about like something like that right in the front there? a bit more hardened. We'll paint these with that. Paint the back side. How about with some of this this caution tape stuff, or well, flooring, floor texture. And okay, so now up here, what could be done? Now it is Skaar too. This actual area down here could make for a pretty decent turret setup. It's pretty close to the cockpit, but you know, you're not really intended, if you're going to get in serious battle, necessarily to fly from this cockpit, but it is a shield-based creation, so it may not make a difference in the end if you do or not. It's just kind of old habits that usually want the player not to be at the front of the ship, behind some relatively weak glass. But this is a shield based time, so things are a little bit different than they used to be. How about let's try to do that. This, and this is going to be a little bit of wasted blocks here, but the idea is to give it a 3x3 area that a turret could fit there. That really throws me off. I don't like this block now. So let's put in one of these. Yeah, I don't know how interesting this video would be. I usually, I mean, these builds, I just know how long they take, and I won't know how long videos can go on for, and that's why I don't do too many videos of the actual building, because it's such a long process. Makes for a long video length, basically. Well, that's kind of neat. So yeah, let's try that block. I know it sticks out over the edge of the other one, but oh, you know what? We can't do that block. We got to widen it up, because we're going to try to fit a turret there and make the turret look like it's actually attached to the ship and not kind of like floating there. So we'll bring those out. This is a lot of steel blocks in this area, but it probably wouldn't hurt. So at least it's at the front of the ship, so I don't feel like I'm wasting much. And let's grab a turret here too. I'll just grab a placeholder one real quick. Something like that. Alright, so let's try to get some, because this is a steel creation and damage blocks are also steel, this might be a good opportunity to get some extra like dents and stuff in it that I don't think I necessarily did with the past Skaar creations, but I think it would be fitting if I did do that, like maybe something like that there, except I don't want the same thing on both sides. So I'm going to turn off symmetry. We'll put this block in back as the original block it was, and just have the damage on one side. Now below here, there's a block that would perfectly fit that. I don't know if it's going to look good though. Oh no, I got symmetry off. Oops. I'll tell you what, since I got symmetry off, let's did I make that block in a damage block? Yes. So let's put one of those there. And we'll just fill this. Oop, not with that. What does take longer to build from what it used to is the amount of changes in material being done going through the hull. Like sometimes carbon, in this case damage blocks and regular steel blocks. In other cases, you know, on those ships that you see occasionally, and I've seen quite a few that have mixed materials. They take longer to build, but technically they're going to be probably better off, because you're going to get more of the tougher blocks where they need to be, and save the weight of not having the tougher blocks throughout the entire creation, or even the entire hull of the creation. Typically interior, I think I always build now out of carbon substrate on just about every creation. I didn't used to. When I first started out, I would build whatever hull material was selected, I would build everything out of it, which is easier, but it's not as practical. It really isn't. It's kind of a waste of materials and things like that. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a front end change, not too drastic, but we got an extra turret up here too, which is cool. I want to back this up with some other things. Maybe try to get some like metal bars or something going on here. Just something. Oops. How's that gonna work out? Well, let's go with a thin block that could match that angle. Maybe here. Oh shoot, symmetry's not on. Darn it. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Turn on symmetry. Yeah, I get in trouble a lot with symmetry. Sometimes I'll turn it off because I gotta fix a texture or fix something, and then I forget to turn it back on. Do a little bit more of the ship, and then realize I had symmetry off, and then turn it back on, and then fix it again. Yeah, that happens quite a bit. I wish it could read my mind. It's not the game's fault. It's just one of those things that I tend to screw up time to time, cause myself a lot of extra work. Yeah, maybe, okay, so the damaged, what texture should I use over the damaged blocks? Should I go with like a dark, gritty, something like that? I think that would be more appropriate. And let's, try to get some other stuff in there. Okay, let's paint this up too. Get the insides of that. Let's try a different texture here. How about some of these kinds of grates? See if we can slam in a texture light here. Wish there was some more options with texture lights, especially too. I don't like to use this too often because it's too big and too clean. But what I really want is something like these little lines here. I use this for a lot of the texture lights on Skaar, but it would be nice if there was something that could like line up properly and not be so red when it's not illuminated. I'll try that though. It can always be changed. And let's fill in some of these with some other things. And how about something different on the insides? Yeah, let's try that. Oh, this one's extra thin over here. Okay. Oh, whatever. That works. It's supposed to look gritty. So, it's kind of the whole scheme of it. And this other alternative metal texture, too, could be incorporated in. I don't think I did much of that over here. But this was built quite a while ago. I kind of figured out some things since this was built. I'm just kind of, again, analyzing what I do have going on like the original, one of the original Skaar creations at least. Alright. So the glass, can't do much with that. If I keep the same cockpit design. Now that could change too, but I don't know if it would look good. Let's find out. Let's just grab some more glass here too. The fancy windows are another option too. You can do some different cockpits, but the problem with the fancy windows, or the armored glass windows, what I'm referring to, is they don't, you can't do 22.5 angles with them. And this is all 22.5 angles, so that kind of messes it up. And yes, there is an issue with flipping a lot of blocks around right now too. I've been noticing that's still there. But yeah, I kind of like the. Again, I'm trying to also make this look a little bit different, so it doesn't look. Well, I don't have it spawned, but it doesn't look like the other ship that I showed in the last video with the front end. It's gonna have its own unique look to it. Hopefully it doesn't suck. It's hard to say sometimes. Okay, so you know what? I also want to change the block work here on the side a little bit. This angle, I want to get rid of that angle and replace it with the bigger angle here. So it sharpens up more, I'd say. it's going to come up over the edges like that a little bit. Could that work, though, for something cool? Maybe. Alright. Not so bad there. Let's dig into it even more. See if we can do something here that looks funky. Now, one thing, yeah, on the pipe action too, Skaar does actually use some pipe, and I kind of relate a lot of this pipe stuff to a little bit more industrial-looking creations. I wouldn't really call them like you want to see a military creation, actual like military creation, warship or tank or plane or anything like that, really ever have exposed pipes on it. That's something that would always be under armor. But if it's a welded together creation, like what this is trying to portray, you probably would see exposed pipes around it, because it's easier just to makeshift something and run it from one place to another than trying to have the entire ship all set up with internal pipe works correctly under hull armor, basically. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of those blocks here and get those smoothed out. I don't think that's a great place for a pipe, though, right there. Just trying to evaluate what's going on here and if I like it or not. That happens a lot too. I just like often I'll do something and try to figure out if I like it, and sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Most of the time when I don't, I change it though later. But sometimes I'll leave it around for a little while to see if it grows on me or starts to blend better with something else. Alright, so the cockpit's a little bit different. Still looks kind of like the fighter, but it's getting a little bit more ragged looking. I don't really like this. Well, I kind of do and kind of don't at the same time, I guess. It's kind of like I feel like maybe this block here should... Whoops. Well, we can get rid of... What did I just remove? Oh, the antenna. Let's try to get in there and not click on the antenna this time. I wonder if that should be eliminated. And maybe... Huh. Well, you know, it's going to be a different ship, right? So, what kind of launcher type weapons do we have that are compatible with vanilla and reforged? I don't think really anything but the big guys over here. I don't want to do that. I was just wondering if there's some other kind of block I could put here. Spotlight could fit. Yeah. Let's try something really out of whack here. See what happens if we do it like something like that there, and then at the very front of that, I don't have that equipped now. I don't know if you guys always have this problem. There's so many different blocks and so many different parts that I'm constantly fighting with the available slots on the toolbar, and constantly having to take stuff away from the toolbar to put back into inventory, in which I can't find it because I got so many other things in there. So it kind of can slow you down a little bit when you're building all this. No, I don't want. That's one's right side up and the other one's upside down. That looks a little too clean though. How about this piece instead? And let's just let's paint a bunch of this in here in a minute. Let's do a mass fill again on that and on that. The whole point, though, of what I'm really trying to do, obviously make it look junkier, but I did want to change the appearance from the other ship, so it didn't look like it was a copy. And it's kind of not a copy at this point, at least, but it started that way. Darken that up Let's just kind of do this whole side here. And let's get in a bunch of other textures here to support that a little bit. How about some kind of, so we got a turret right there. How about some kind of vent right there? And that vent goes to something like that that can wrap up along the edges, up around. Let's see what that does. Okay. And this piece here, let's try to use a different texture entirely for that. Something that can fit on there. Color that one in. How about add in like some of this too in places? Maybe a couple of those there. I can use some smooth metal on this, but I don't use too much, so try not to overdo it. So it's want that rustic look. Let's try some more of this here. And then being lazy, I should just remove the deco, but this sometimes works pretty good. Get something else in there. Just put, I don't know, something up here too. Yeah, I don't use this texture at all with Skaar. Put maybe a couple like that. A couple of those. Paint the rest of this to match. Oh, but you know what? Oh no. I was almost going to go two-tone on this and have the outer different shade, but that will only work on one side because there is a missing block, a couple of missing blocks actually, to paint it individually on both sides like that. So I won't even try. And this is another usable texture here with Skaar. Or at least, I don't think I did actually use that with past Skaar, but I don't see any reason why it can't work unless it, of course, has the line in it, which I don't want. So maybe something like that. It's different on one side or the other. Okay, let's try to also get in some kind of more damage on here. Maybe let's try to replace one of these with a damage block. But then you know what? I don't want to do the same on both sides. So let's take off symmetry, put back in the regular block. Okay, symmetry back on. Why is symmetry not working? Like I just painted this again and then the other side's... Oh, it's a different block. Okay, that explains it. Okay, so for the inside of damage blocks, what should be used there? Should I go with like that, or is there another texture that could look like some kind of destroyed, messed up damage thingy? Did I do any of that over here at all? I don't think I did. So I don't think it was ever an issue. But I can't quite remember if I did try to get some damage blocks in here or not. But I can't say I'm seeing any. Doesn't really matter. It's a different creation anyway. Okay, so with toning, right now everything is kind of this one shade. And maybe I'll just go dark on the insides of those. But I wouldn't mind trying to figure out a way to... that's going to paint the whole thing, isn't it? Okay. To get some color variation in here. That looks appropriate, at least. And let's get some more little detail-y things going on here, too. How about a little bit of that, and And oh, that's one of those. How about that? That sounds neat. And see, I'm really trying to fluctuate a lot on the texturing of this for the most part. Just to give it that kind of grungy look. You can probably see why a lot of this takes a long time to do, though. Sometimes some of these things go pretty fast. Like if I wasn't as rusty with Skaar right now, it would probably go faster. I'd be able to mass do things a little bit better and pick up the pace. But right now, I'm really kind of just trying to dial in the look, at least get an area started to go on from, I guess you can say. Take off these turrets here too. I think the Skaar turrets, we're using that for the center. I think they still did the this on the 4 sides, and then I don't know if it actually went with that there, but that could kind of almost work, except for this this part here. If I swap that out to some of this, I don't want to get too much of that in there though. I'm using that here. Let's get rid of that there. No, that ain't gonna work. So I'll just paint that way. Maybe put in, how about one of these vents here? Nope. Let's get rid of this turret again. Paint underneath that. Okay, something like that. And let's just tint you. Okay, so we got that one area that's extra light there. I don't know if that's, what else could go there? How about that? Yeah, that fits all right. Okay, let's paint the glass darker. Get yeah, this is a great area for potentially some kind of little texture light thingy here. God, I wish there was some more options. See, at nighttime that will look all right, but in the daytime it doesn't look very good if you look at it close up. But there's not a huge amount that will. Like this one here I don't really use with the Skaar. It's probably the biggest light texture that there is. But, you know, it's not bad. Hold on, let's just see what this is looking like in nighttime. The texture lights just don't look quite the way I got used to them looking. See, like at night, I like how this looks here. But in the daytime, you see all that red there. That part I don't like. This one over here I think just looks a little bit too happy, a little too big, so I'm going to try to do something like that there too. Okay, so that looks about right. Go back to daytime again. Yeah, man, this is taking a little while here. Kind of expected it to, but it goes under there. What? God, I didn't do it again. I don't know what's going on with Symmetry, but it's just not responding very good. Like I just painted. Oh, that's a damage block. This isn't a damage. I see. Never mind. It's not the Symmetry. It's the fact that I got different blocks on both sides, so that when I paint one, it's not painting the other the same way. That's not too bad there. Okay, so the lighter area there. Let's put some. Trying to get some kind of stripes going on in here, but I can't like paint this outer edge different than the inner edge because it will carry across. So how about we have a stripe there, and let's say the row behind that was painted darker, a couple rows behind that. And this is a great opportunity for another texture light. How about something like that there? Just back that up with some other thing that looks like it maybe joins to it. And don't like the use of that and that right next to each other. So this one's going to change to something else. Or how about I just go like that? Okay, so this would be the lighter area. If I try to remember that, I'm trying to get some light and some color fluctuation on here too. So we got our base gray. This is kind of like a tone up from the base gray. I'll try to keep on running with that here. And then I've got this alt color here too, which I remember I used for some of these things. Been a while again though. Fluctuate the color on the sides of that. And that, let's just see what happens if this whole section here was painted in that tone. And paint around it in this tone. And let's add some stuff to it. I don't know if this is the right tone though. It's one of those experimental things. I might end up scrapping this, but I did kind of want to. This is a drone hatch. It'd be kind of nice to get a little bit of like some kind of texture light around the area. Now, I wish this texture worked out better, but it never lines up on the center usually. But you know, because if I use something else here, it might be all right. Okay, and something dark here. And do I like it? Not really. That's one of those things. So, yeah. How about if I went with that silver instead of that other tone? And let's get some things maybe in here too, like that. Great place for a couple of vent things. There. No, just use that. A couple like that. What if we did a couple of those? Well, you can kind of see the process. That's kind of what I wanted to show. At least it's kind of started. And hold on, just as reference, I want to take a look at this one, which this is the one kind of sharing the same front end. So we're looking like that. They're all kind of clean and smooth, and then this is looking, well, it's a little bit different shaped, a little bit different nose, some additional turret down here. Speaking of turrets, that's one thing I wanted to look at as in reference. How did I label Skaar turrets is the question. Or didn't I? I guess I just didn't. Oh, I did put those in the center, but I didn't do much else, did I? Okay. So, maybe I'll try to do a little bit more on this one, though, than just that. Let's try some dashes or something here. Like, God, how would that work? Dash on the front and back, maybe? Pretty simple. Not that you'll really see that, but basically I wanted to make sure that if these guns weren't here, that you know that was intended for a turret mount, basically. Okay, I'll just finish up this last portion here and take a look, see if it's ooh. Oh yeah, that little thin block there, okay. What a really dark area here. Filled in with what? Nope. Alright, let's stick some turrets back on here. And, well, anyway, kind of the first session of this, I was a little worried about the video because I was fearing that this could take a long time to actually go through the whole creation and try to scarify it. At least doing it in this manner. If I was just going to mass fill it, that wouldn't take too long. But there's, I mean, once I get all this painted throughout the rest of the ship, and I'll keep on trying to mix up the hull a little bit in places. Like this area is going to probably get modified a little bit too. I may change this part a little bit. I can fluctuate with a lot of this stuff here too. Again, I don't want it to look the same as the as this ship. I want it to be distinctively different looking in the end. Same goes for the this back portion here. I kind of wanted to mix this up a little bit too before it's done. Give it that that kind of messy look, I guess you could say. And some options that I've got. Obviously, damage blocks are a thing. These things, I can use this if I can find a good location to stick some of this kind of stuff in. That can work out pretty good too, and I use that in some places on this, basically around this landing pad, I think, for the most part. I might have had it in a couple other places too. And yeah, I don't know, some general chaos, I guess, but it's kind of, yeah, a little bit rough. Just curious what you think so far. If it is looking quite a bit different than the other ship now. Hopefully it'll continue to look more and more different, but it's still the same ship. I'm not really changing the dimensions of it. I intend on leaving this whole center section the way it is because that was unique on this one. The swing arms here, I did want to change, though. That is part of the thing because they're used over here. And that's really the only reason. I don't mind them. Um, it's just I don't want it to be like the same. You know what I'm saying? So it's just want to mix it up, keep on messing with it. But it is started now. You can kind of get a look, an idea of how it's going to look in relative, compared to the other versions of the thing, and hopefully dial into look like this in one way or another. Yeah, there's another use of some of these grates and stuff like that. But I think that's all I'll do today, because this video is probably already getting pretty long. And keep in mind, I mean, to fully go through this whole thing, I'm expecting this to be a good half a day project, or like good 4 hour project if I'm really jamming on it. You know, not to get the whole thing kind of looking like this kind of messed up look. But if you're doing the same kind of creations, or even of a different theme, and you kind of want it to look that run down, rusty look, these are some options for you at least. Damage blocks are an option. Um, Messing up the textures a lot, with having like a base texture of one thing, but then also putting in some alternatives. And I've seen a lot of other authors do this too. Like you could put in a little bit of this in the mix, which can kind of fit with that. You can have some discoloration, and another big thing that I see done, and kind of like to see too, is you can actually use like these rust like decals, or even the more greeny ones, and kind of throw a little bit of messed up stuff on it. Usually when I do this, I try to make it look even that a little bit plausible. It's not very picky though, but I think like on this one I did some of that too. But I think I put the bulk of it around where these tread things were. Well, at least I thought I did. It's been a while. And yeah, I'm using this other whiter tone on this one here too, so I wouldn't mind trying to find, once I get this painted up, I'll try to get some of that in there somewhere too, so it's not so drab. It's got a little bit of color accents in places and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot to do, and I usually like to go over like texture at a time, like look at every area. Often one of my texture strategies is to start with one texture somewhere, and then try to and then put in supporting textures around it. Let's try to just show one quick example of that. Well, you kind of seen what I was doing over there, but like say, just looking for a good location for something like that. How about here? So we got a pipe. So on the sides of the pipe, what I'll do is try to find something squarish that can kind of look like it lines up to the pipe. Usually, I mean, some of the go-to textures are these squarish ones. You could use that one. You could use like this one. And there's not too many other options. I guess you could use that one or this one, but something that kind of goes in that square format, I guess you can say. And then like on this, so let's do a two-tone on the pipe. Let's like do one side of it like that, and the other side, I don't know, different, like maybe that, so it kind of looks a little bit unique. And then the pipe goes into this section over here, and maybe this is a part, so we'll put like a vent there, and then back that vent up with something that kind of lines up to it a little bit, like that. And you just kind of move on from that. It's like you start with one area and you put in one specialized texture there to kind of break it up, and then you put in supporting textures around it. And usually after I'm done with the supporting textures, I'll keep a lot of it relatively smooth nearby, so you're not trying to over gaudy it up, but you have these like pockets of more in-depth textures. With Skaar, it's a little bit more, well, I guess it's kind of doing the same thing, obviously, where it's just like your base metal here, and then you got something going on here, and then if this part's here, like maybe I should put I don't know, something to back that up. Could be well, that's a vent, and this is a vent, so I don't like to have two vents next to each other either. And again, you're just going to run out of textures. There's only so many textures out there that you can use, and you just kind of keep on messing with it until you find a formation that you like. And that is typically what I do on most creations. Now this one's pretty plain Jane yet over here. and which I keep on thinking I need to grit this up a little bit more. It's a bit on the smooth side right now, so that'll be something I'm planning on doing before I release the ship, is to get some more texturing in there, kind of. But with this one, I was just kind of, you want it to be more gritty, you want it to be more textury on the Skaar. And if you're doing all these kinds of steps, it is, it can take a while to paint these. And when I look at other people's creations and they have, doing similar type approaches to their texture style, and especially trying to make a rundown looking ship, it's harder to do than making a clean looking ship. It's easier to just paint things with the flatter metals and stuff like that than it is to really try to make it look all grunged up. That is, but it's an extra layer of detail. All this grungy stuff. But yeah, so far I'm okay with it. I don't mind the differences to the cockpit. It seems to be working, and the differences to the bottom of the hull, like the addition of the extra turret mount position right there, which actually still it doesn't block the turret behind it, which is great. I'll have to just keep on working on it. But as in my plans right now, obviously to get this guy done here and out probably this Friday or Saturday, hopefully fully complete with everything. And as in all the comments talking about the weapon loadout, which I asked in the last video, on this one, I'm siding with the idea of like putting like 4 miniguns on it. Maybe, people were suggesting maybe a couple on the top, a couple on the bottom, or 4 to 6 miniguns on it, and just call it good at that, and leave all the other turret mount positions open, as well as the launcher positions. And then anybody can put on whatever weapons they want to put on them. Obviously, I wouldn't want to run it or try to attack anything with 6 minigun turrets on here. You're not going to have very good success unless you're fighting drones. But this way, it'll keep the creation cheaper. There's just so many wide variety of different kinds of turrets, and then there's, especially in Reforged Eden, and then you got your tier 2 turrets, and there's a lot of things. And of course, I would like to equip it with what I think it would do the best with. Maybe probably a mix of positron and maybe a couple other weapon types. But that's just my opinion, and I don't play the game enough to have a great opinion on what the best weaponry would be probably on the ship for its role. So I'm thinking, yeah, it'll have all the turret positions. I believe it has 24 total turret positions. It'll be equipped with 4 to 6 minigun turrets. It's going to keep the cost down. You can add the turrets of your choosing, how you want to do it, and then every ship, you get the base ship, and then everyone kind of customizes it to their own specs and qualifications and things like that. And that does make a lot of sense to me. As a builder too, I like to see people customize things. I really do. So sometimes I'll put out a ship that is fully decked out exactly the way I want it, with whatever weapons it has and this and that. But honestly, I think the better plan would be to just kind of keep things, you got your base design here. It's like you bought a factory stock, sports car or Mustang or Camaro or something like that, but you want to now mod it, you want to make it your own. So you go out and do what you want to it, big tires, fancy rims, soup up the engine, whatever you're going to do to it. And it means more to you then. It really does. I mean, it's your baby rather than just another car, that you just bought that way. So for the comments that all said, just lightly equip it, I am agreeing on that. I see the point in that. It's kind of how I would want to get a ship too. I don't want to spend all the money, especially like if let's say I just put on something wacky, like I put on a whole bunch of, flak turrets all over the place on it, but your whole thing is you want to be attacking CVs, and flak isn't like what you really want to be attacking enemy CVs with. It just won't make any sense, but it ups the cost of the creation in the first place. So it would take longer to spawn it in, and then you have to replace all the stuff with the stuff you wanted. And because this is trying to be dual compatible between vanilla and Reforged Eden, that bans basically the use of any Reforged Eden only turrets, which would be the bulk of the turrets I would actually want to put on here. So yeah, I'm going to go that route. And there's another comment too on maybe I'm going to probably try a little bit different method with the teleporter on this one as well. Normally I just put in a sensor right above the teleporter, but another author was kind of giving me a heads up on a different way to do it. And from my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong on this, the you can't teleport if your shield's on. And that's something I didn't actually realize before. And if that's true, then this method would basically disable the shield anytime that you hop on to your teleporter. So it would just work, and you wouldn't have to think about it. You wouldn't have to go manually in the P menu and turn off your shield. It would just do it for you, essentially. But as soon as you're off that teleporter, the shield's back on. So basically, it's pretty minor change in the sensor stuff. But it's one of those things I didn't realize. I didn't realize you couldn't teleport if the shield's on. I didn't even know that. So I don't think I've really, sort of walking through a POI that had teleporters, I don't think I've ever really used a teleporter in one of the creations to teleport somewhere and back. So anyway, that's all I've got for today. I just kind of wanted to show you what's up with Skaar texturing and kind of the method that I go about doing it. And this can translate to pretty much all the different factions and stuff that I texture things on. They're all a little bit different. Skaar is probably closest actually to the human texturing, just using a lot grittier surfaces and metals and a little bit more mix of the texture metals if done right. And I'm going to try to improve on the texturing on this one versus even the earlier Skaar creations. Like over here, I could have used some alternative metal pieces and blend them in. And I've learned to kind of do that later on. But yeah, this is also made of concrete, so it doesn't have some of those textures over here. That's something else that can really mess you up. And I hope someday that the textures get kind of sorted out. What really stinks is I got some ideas of like almost like a completely different faction to build. Like I think I showed the examples of that, kind of almost going for like a Diablo style look with some things. But I realized that I can only do that on a base, because I can only, those textures are only come on concrete or wood textures for the bulk that I was using. And, well, you can't use concrete or wood on anything that moves. So that's kind of a problem. And basically the fix to the problem would be just kind of open up the textures, the texture palette, so it doesn't really matter what your base material is. You can texture it with any of the textures available in the game. That is ultimately, I think, would be the best fix. That would also apply to Xeno, which is a big problem. Xeno's the best block in the game for weight versus strength, but it has literally the most strangest texture set, and it was designed to be an alien texture set, but we're using Xeno blocks for legitimate, like, functioning armor in the game. And it almost kind of like steers you to, well, okay, if you have these kind of blocks, it's got to look really alien, but we're not really using them for that, and there's not many options there, and they don't really fit together with anything else. And that's a problem with the Xeno. Some do. I mean, I found ways to use some, like 2 or 3 textures from the Xeno and make it work with other creations, but that's about it. Anyway, I will shut up, and you guys have yourself a great day. I do plan on getting a video out in the next day or two with updates on all this stuff. In fact, probably tomorrow I'll do another video. I made myself a little to-do list now that I didn't address in this video yet, but I've been missing too many things. People will send me something, and I'll think about it at the time, and I'll get back to it, and then like the next day I forget. I'm like, who sent me that? Where did I see that at? What was it? So now every time I see it, I make it a habit. I got this little file. I'm like putting in an entry in there. Maybe check out this CV. In fact, there's a few different CVs I want to check out. There's also a really cool version that I haven't checked out yet, and I do plan on doing it. A alternative supremacy updated for Reforged Eden, the latest version, which I gotta assume would probably add in the ability to put in extra shield parts and stuff, but I will be looking at that probably in tomorrow's video, as well as a couple other creations again. that are kind of in my backlog here to look at. So anyway, you all have yourself a great day, and I will talk to you later.